Aquarius workshop, The Illusory Fear of Unsafety. I start with a quote of Pathwork Lecture 67 with the title Questions and Answers. And the quote is as follows. Whenever you feel unsafe, this is so because of yourself, never because of others. The latter is one of the greatest illusions of humankind. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 67. Instinctively, every human being is looking for love and safety, because safety and happiness are indispensable in human life. But as a result of images, misconceptions, and wrong conclusions, we seek safety in the wrong way, which actually increases the feeling of insecurity. Our counterproductive choices that cause unsafety. First, we seek safety in the outside world by controlling the outside world, but we put ourselves in the desperate situation where, on the one hand, we experience the outside world as unsafe, hostile and dangerous, and, on the other hand, we feel completely emotionally dependent on that outside world. True safety can only be found in our inner world. Second, we believe in the fundamental misconception that selfishness, self-centeredness and greed will give us safety, but to the extent that we are selfish, we feel emotionally dependent. Nothing causes greater unsafety and inferiority than emotional dependence. Having to get protection, love, admiration and approval from the outside world. Because of the emotional dependence, every rejection, every lack of love, recognition, admiration or approval is experienced by the inner child as unsafe, as confirmation of inferiority and as dying. Thirdly, we crave safety and happiness and subconsciously believe that we can protect ourselves from pain and rejection through an idealized self-image with the three pseudo-solutions. These pseudo-solutions are based on fearful submissiveness, willful aggressiveness, and proudly aloofness. We think these pseudo-solutions help us gain mastery over life. In reality, these pseudo-solutions are based on wanting to get something from others so that we maintain our emotional dependency. Even though they are false solutions, we apply them rigidly and compulsively. With each failure, we try even harder in our blindness to make these pseudo-solutions work, which increases the feeling of unsafety, and out of distrust, we must be constantly on our guard. Fourth, we think we are safe by saying no to life. But this no current to life means a no to loving, growing, moving, giving, understanding and feeling. When the unhealthy no current is active, there is separation, duality, isolation, unsafety, resistance to change, and the desire to leave things as they are. The unhealthy no current, therefore, has a limiting effect, so that we do not look beyond the outer appearances and we cannot perceive the chaos, unrest, pain, suffering and destructiveness that lie underneath. But we should not ask the impossible of ourselves and realize that as long as we live on Earth, we will occasionally feel unsafe, fearful, sad and unhappy. In this workshop you will explore with a loving curiosity through 3 fundamental themes of the Pathwork Lectures, the illusory fear of unsafety. First theme: distortion of the survival instinct causes unsafety. The survival instinct always leads men consciously or unconsciously to the path of self-development and purification. But the emotionally immature human being abuses the aggressive power of the survival instinct in a distorted way. He uses it to overcome feelings of unsafety and inadequacy by desiring supremacy, dominate others to gain respect, power, approval and admiration. This distortion and the ensuing lovelessness, selfishness and greed creates emotional stagnation, emotional malnutrition and emotional dependency. The next quote stems from Pathwork Lecture 86. The function of the instinct of self-preservation is to maintain and safeguard life. It is concerned with avoiding danger and securing safety from danger. In a state of health and maturity, real dangers, not only physical ones, but any threat to the healthy growth of the individual, are warded off. But in distortion, the dangers are imagined and unrealistic. When a human being considers himself threatened by not being loved, admired, approved of, or agreed with, this represents an unrealistic danger. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 86. The second theme: unsafety by believing the opposite. The spiritual law of cause and effect teaches us that thoughts, behaviors and feelings are causes and that the effects manifest itself in events. Out of fear of pain and self-responsibility, we believe that it is the other way around, and we look for the cause outside ourselves from a distorted self-protection. This reverse thinking causes us to rebel against the challenges life throws at us, that we view life as unsafe and have the illusion of living in a chaotic and unjust universe. The truth is that all spiritual laws, such as the law of cause and effect, are organic, infinitely just and balanced down to the smallest detail. The next quote stems from Pathwork Lecture 211. As you work along the precepts of this path and establish connections between you and the events, no matter how remote from your volition and your responsibility they may seem, a curious reversal begins to take place in your vision of self and life. What first seemed cause, the outer event, now becomes effect and vice versa. What first seemed merely symbolic analogy, the inner landscape, is now stark reality, while the outer events become symbolic representations of the inner reality. This new perception brings about a whole gamut of new reactions to life. A deep inner sense of security arises because now thoughts and desires, feelings and attitudes are seen as the creative agents. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 211. The third and last theme: only surrender to God gives real safety. Resistance to surrender to the divine true self produces a strong sense of guilt that weakens us and makes us lose ourselves in self-punishment, leaving us feeling fearful and unsafe. Surrender is a gesture of abundance, of giving, letting go, and moving with what is, so that enrichment must follow according to spiritual law. It is our natural destiny to surrender completely to God, but refusing this surrender due to illusory fears creates a false surrender to false prophets that only intensifies the fear of surrender to God. If we practice surrender to God daily, we will find a new strength, wisdom, confidence, safety, and healthy self-esteem. The last quote stems from Pathwork Lecture 254. You believe that you are safe only when you hold yourself separate, suspicious, and stiff. The truth is that by total surrender to God, you not only find true safety and security, you also become capable of surrendering to others if and when this is indicated and furthering for your life. Only when the total surrender to God exists is your channel clear enough to recognize truth from falsehood, to see who should and who should not be trusted and followed. You can shed yourself in safety, as your soul demands, without danger of losing yourself. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 254. I wish you all the best. Thank you.